Hello and welcome to Fowl Plays, where we look at tales of tabletop tragedy that are sure to ruffle some feathers. As always, I'm your host Boss Goose, and in today's story, we have a player with main character syndrome who wants to be a part of every interaction and skill challenge presented in the game, forcing the other players to take a back seat as she hogs the spotlight thanks to the DM enabling her. And in the end, decides the rest of the party are disposable as long as she's able to accomplish her goals. So take a seat and wet your beak as we dive on into today's tale. Hello everyone! I decided to post a story that happened to me and a friend a few years ago. We were still very new to D&D and at the time were only players. Since then, we both got a lot more into the game and currently I'm a DM. My friend and I decided we wanted to start playing D&D after being introduced to it by a common friend. We were still quite new to the whole concept and thought it would be interesting to join a game on a local game store. To be honest, it was a little difficult to find a proper table, as my friend was a bit uncomfortable being the only single woman at a table, but eventually we found one. The DM was supposed to be an experienced dungeon master, and he wanted to run a homebrew campaign, which was quite interesting. The campaign was based on this subterranean world where the humanoid races had to flee the surface due to some circumstances that I don't quite remember right now. As the cast of this story, we have me as the barbarian, my friend as the cleric, another random addition to the game as the rogue, and lastly a friend of the DM as the sorcerer, who was the other woman of the party. The DM decided to start the campaign with us at level 5. While we told him my friend and I were inexperienced, he said that would not be a problem at all. And on hindsight, we should have taken that as the first red flag, but we just went through with it. The first session started with us being hired by a noble family to delve deep into the Underdark and recover an heirloom of one of their long-lost mansions. The adventure itself was quite interesting. However, we did notice that throughout the session, most of the spotlight was set on the sorcerer. She would actively try to do everything, and even take someone else's ideas as her own. At one point, she said she would unlock a door, even though we had a rogue that specialized in thieves' tools in our group. At the time, we didn't mind at all, and thought it was just her personality. We were having some fun, so we decided to let it go. After 2 sessions, we tried to roleplay a bit more, and that was also overtaken by her, even though it was a nice interaction between the rogue and the cleric, and had nothing to do with me or her. Anyway, we continue on until we meet the final enemy of this adventure. Not the campaign. A fallen version of a Deva, usually lawful good, but this one was lawful evil. The DM had edited this creature, probably downgrading their HP so it would fit a 5th level party. The fight went on with a lot of difficulty. Even raging, the creature did heavy hits to my barbarian, but we seemed to be on our way to winning the fight. Then something happened. The sorcerer announced her actions when most of us were close to the enemy. The rogue and myself were melee, and the cleric had to go in to heal the rogue with cure wounds. The sorcerer said words that I still dread, and I quote, "I will use meta magic quicken spell, and I'll cast fireball twice. Then I'll use action surge, and I'll cast it another time." Now, I know most of you might be thinking, how did a 5th level character, needed for Fireball as a sorcerer, cast it 2 times and be able to use Action Surge? Apparently, she wasn't 5th level. Since that character was an old character of hers, the DM just told her to play as an 8th level character, 6th level sorcerer, and 2nd level fighter. Now, I'm not sure if you guys made the count, but with 3 fireballs, the 3 players were decimated alongside the boss. We had already took a lot of damage, and most of us were unlucky enough to fail the dex save. I wasn't a barbarian, so no resistance for fire damage. So we were all killed in action, and since this woman didn't have Revivify, we were done. We asked why the player had done that, and we even asked the DM what that was about. The woman just replied, "It's what my character would do. She completed the mission. It doesn't matter if she lost allies along the way." And the DM's answer was that since she was going with the character, there was nothing he could do. After that session, the 3 of us got up and quit the campaign, much to the DM's dismay. He started saying we were being childish, and he was going to put us on the blacklist of the game store, so no one would run games for us. We didn't really care, as if that was the kind of game run, we were not interested. So that was our first introduction to D&D, and it could have killed our interest in it. Luckily, we found another DM who was amazing, and taught us all the way from level 1, and got us hooked. But every time I remember that story, I still get chills. Cheers, everyone. Oof, there are a few things worse in D&D than a player who thinks that the story revolves solely around them. I get having the solution or skill for resolving whatever situation, but the problem comes when you charge ahead with said ideas consistently without any input or assistance from the others, leaving them to just sit and watch as your character single-handedly deals with every obstacle. You might be able to pick the lock, but why not let the rogue have their moment and do it? And you might have an idea for what to do next, but why not ask Cleric if she knows anything? Little things like that go a long way to including the rest of the party in the game, especially when you have new players at the table. Plus, when you make suggestions or ask the others what they can do to help, it deepens the party dynamic and really forges bonds with the other players at the table. And speaking of bonds, this really brings up the big issue, which is the triple fireball on a single enemy when your entire party is stacked there. I can't imagine that a 6th level sorcerer didn't have some other spells that maybe did a little less damage, but would have spared the group. But instead, she decides to triple cast a powerful AoE and kills the rest of the party, and when confronted about it, utters those most hated words, "It's what my character would do," as if that would make it okay. The DM definitely should have stepped in or said something here since there were new players to the game, but instead chose to side with the sorcerer and call the other players immature for complaining. It's no surprise that they left, and at least the story has a happy ending with OP and their friend finding a new DM who was able to give them a true D&D experience. Anyway, thanks for checking out my video and sticking around till the end. I hope you enjoyed yourselves. I upload new content every Thursday and Sunday, so make sure you check out my channel for more D&D stories. And if you like this video, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and leave me a goosebump in the comments below. The support is greatly appreciated. But until next time, be good players.